Matt Lenihan, Boxing Social, in association with Empire Fight Store. Delighted to be joined by former world champion and, like I said to Paulie, one of the best boxing analysts in the game at the minute, Chris Algieri, here with ProBox in Ireland. Just touch on a little bit. I know you said in the press conference yourself and Paulie, it's about the 50-50 fights. The fighters getting rewarded for not necessarily the record, but the body of work. The likes of Robbie Davis Jr., who was in one of the fights of the year. He gets rewarded with that, with another opportunity. A guy at world level who's been world champion, I think WBA, fought Ryan Garcia. Talk to us a little bit about ProBox and what you guys are trying to do alongside Conlon Boxing.
Yeah, so the idea about ProBoxTV is that evenly matched fights. We don't care who wins. We want good fights. So the fans always win. And the fights that we have coming on here, I mean, the Conlon brothers have the same idea, the same ethos, the way they do their fights and promote their shows. So it's just a perfect match. It's a perfect mix. And ProBoxTV is really excited to be out here over in Ireland, in Belfast. There's been great fan support out for both the press conferences we had the last 2 days, and I'm sure we'll be on fight night too. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Irish fans.
Ireland's been steeped in history for years. It's been littered with legends of the game. How good is it? I know that Jamie and Michael are delighted that you guys are over here, but you have an opportunity to create something special here. And Belfast has long been a hotbed for talent, some of these young fighters coming through. Does that excite you as a former fighter when you can see these fighters, different stages of their career? Some guys come in for like a bit of a redemption, some guys want to go back to world level, and you got guys who are fighting for titles that maybe some people haven't even heard of, but it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ProBoxTV has the opportunity to change lives of these fighters. We lost the whole middle class. Friday Night Fights from ESPN is gone. Showbox on Showtime is gone. These fights are all these opportunities for fighters in that middle range. The guys who are on the way up, and also the guys who've fallen off from the top level, who are trying to get back up there. ProBoxTV is an opportunity for those guys to do that, and being a part of that and seeing these guys being able to really turn their lives around is amazing.
Aside from this show, obviously, which will be happening on Friday, there's a lot of big fights currently happening. We've just seen the press conference between Oleksandr Usyk and Tyson Fury. I want to get your thoughts on this. Tyson and Oleksandr in the first press conference, it was very lively, a lot of back and forth, but they've shared the rounds together now. They know what to expect. Tyson knows what to expect. He was hurt in the first fight, and let's be honest as well, I think it goes a bit understated, but Tyson hurt Usyk with an uppercut in that fight as well, where I think if he'd have stepped on the gas, it would have been very interesting. But when you think you're winning the fight, sometimes you don't. How do you see this fight now from the outside looking in? And if you're going into this with a guy at a computer brain of Oleksandr Usyk, if you're Tyson Fury, how do you look at this and approach it?
This is a tough fight, and I think the rematch is going to be greatly affected by the first fight because, like you said, they know each other. They've shared the rounds together. Usyk knows he can hurt Tyson. Tyson knows he can hurt Usyk. So it's going to be an interesting fight. It might be a little more tactical early on, but listen, if I'm Tyson Fury, I'm going to make it ugly. I think using your size, using your physicality, kind of like he did in the second Wilder fight, could be really beneficial. And then for Usyk, man, he doesn't really have to change anything. He's just got to be himself. He finds a way to win. That's his true talent, his ability to find a way to win no matter what.
In terms of boxing now, we're starting to see some of these big fights happen. Like you mentioned, obviously ProBox are doing it. Obviously, I feel like at the start of the journey, they've had a great start, but it's cooking. Riyadh season, we've seen a lot of high-level fights. What's the one fight in boxing right now that you want to see happen, and do you think that fight can happen?
I want to see Nakatani and Inoue. That's a fight that I really want. I really want the Nakatani-Inoue fight. I think it's a great fight. I think, Bob Arum has already said that there's a chance that they're going to come together in Vegas and they're going to fight on the card in separate bouts and then hopefully make the fight coming in the fall. I think that's probably the best fight that can be made right now.
Who would you give the edge to?
I mean, Inoue's it's hard to go against Inoue because he's got the experience. But it's this is his fourth weight class, and Nakatani is young and fresh and has a style. Southpaw. He's got that athleticism, that Western flair, and he's got power too. So I can see Nakatani winning that fight, but I would lean towards Inoue right now.
One thing I want to touch on, I watch you guys on ProBox. I know we do us on YouTube channel, but I do watch yourself, Paulie. I think you had Tim Bradley on. You were having a debate. You were sort of, I don't know if you were sat in the middle, but I remember there was Tim Bradley one side. There was the debate regarding Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney going down the legal route with regards to this failed drug test. And Paulie was very much on the side of, look, like he's sort of devalued my next fight. He's now technically become a meme. It's the embarrassment. It's the shame. it could set a precedence now if other guys think they can get away with it and it can cost them millions in court, whereas Tim Bradley was on the side of, they're soft. Yeah. So I want to know now, and you can't sit on the fence, what is your opinion? What do you think is right? Are you for it? Are you against it? Where do you sit?
And just like I said in that video, like I understand both sides. I understand, the idea that listen, man, we're fighters, handle it in the ring, but also, yeah, you're hurting my money. But I'm gonna go down with what I said initially, man. Figure it out in the ring. Go fight. Go make the money in the ring. Go fight each other. You have an opportunity for a rematch to make even more money. So I think that rematch has to happen. I do think it does happen. I do think that it would be silly to leave that much money on the table. But I think a Haney-Ryan Garcia fight, whether it's at 47 or 50, whatever, I think that fight should happen. That's how it should be settled. In terms of, I don't want the idea of guys being able to sue each other back and forth, because the lines always get blurred in that kind of situation. And like even, I don't know, it's definitely a complicated issue. I hate the idea of drug cheats in this sport. It's way too dangerous. But I think more Ryan's situation was, what I had more problem with was the weight, because I don't think what the drugs that he had in his system made an effect on that fight night. But the weight is a big deal.
Would you say then, from your point of view, obviously he paid a heavy fine, but he quite willingly paid that, knowing, look, I'll come and wear whatever I want fight night kind of thing. I'm not sure, I can't remember now, I don't want to be misspeak, but I don't think was there a hydration clause on what he could? So you're saying he can blow up to whatever he wants, and he's a big boy when he's fully hydrated. We see the difference between the body shape from the Tank fight, because Tank knew, look, if we let this kid go, he's going to be huge, and he's already got a height advantage. So is that, when you're Haney going into a rematch, his mentality now, is there a bit of a fear there that the scars from that first fight are still there for the second?
Absolutely. And that's why I don't think Haney should go right into a rematch. I think he should get a fight in between, because he's a boxer. He needs to find his rhythm. He needs to find his timing. Ryan can roll out of bed. He's just a talent. He's got speed and power. He can roll out of bed and fight. And it seemed like he didn't train. I mean, I'm sure he trained for that fight, but I got reports that he didn't train that hard for the fight. He was, so, he's partying all fight week. But the guy can still show up because he's super talented and he can punch. But Devin, I think he needs to get his legs underneath him again and get comfortable. And I always said that I think that Bill has done a masterful job with moving his son. I think he made a mistake that night with that weigh-in, not having a rehydration clause, even taking the fight. I just think that everything has been so masterful and perfect up until that point, and we saw the result.
Last one. Obviously, you fought the best, former world champion. You did everything you could to fight the best as well. I remember watching your fights, what seems like only yesterday. When you see the boxing, I think you're slowly coming into a good time again, where we're not having fighters market themselves as undefeated fighters. I think that's partly Floyd's fault, but Floyd's Floyd. Do you look back and do you miss it at all? Is that still there? Because you still got a foot in the door doing this, so you still get to come and enjoy it. But I can see the passion. I asked Paulie one question, he'll talk for 10 minutes to give me an answer. And yourself, you can tell how passionate you are. Do you miss it at all still? Is it still one of them things where I'd love to come back and just do something?
This is a great question, and it's funny. Robbie Davies is in here. We just talked about his fight with Sergey Lipinets. I remember calling that fight, and I said, I'm glad I'm on this side and not in there, because I used to be in those kinds of fights, and I used to love those kinds of fights. I used to like being in those kinds of fights. I don't want to be in those kinds of fights anymore, so I'm happy to be done.
Chris Algieri, an absolute pleasure. Hopefully we can catch up with yourself and Paulie after this show on Friday night. Enjoy Ireland for the rest of your time you're here, and we'll catch up soon.
Sounds good.